Today, we are going to take a look at what controls the music biz. Hello, and welcome to my channel. Um, is it one person? Is it a group of people? A mega corporation? Is it something a lot more deeper than that? Something spiritual? The devil? Uh, I don't know. Let's take a look. Um, One thing that's interesting is somebody makes the decisions for what happens in the music industry. Someone says, "Oh, look, this beautiful young female, she looks so innocent, and we can use that." But what they do is they make the decision to, kind of make her look dirty and raunchy and, because sex sells. So they use that. But somebody has to make that decision, and it seems to me that the decisions that are made across the board. It's not like, well, it's just this one instance. A lot of these pop stars, they end up kind of going in the same direction. The clothes just seem to get less and less, and they make them all look sexy and raunchy, and because that's what sells. And you have a few that are actually, decent. They don't like to go in that direction. But it always seems like the ones that do go in that direction will get the most attention. They'll get the most, cooperation from the people that are funding them. They'll get the work. They seem to always have number one hits. They seem to always be in the media. And that's the other thing is everything by design? I mean, if you were to start a band, do you think you have the ability to succeed in 2025? This has to be, if I was an original, a musician, pop star, rock, whatever, just some sort of musical celebrity, and making original music, it's got to be, at least from what I see, the hardest time in history to try to, to make something of yourself in to have a career and make something of yourself in the music industry. And it's because of the design of the music industry. It's because of the design of how it's controlled. And we'll get into a couple of things that I was looking at on the internet, as far as like the money and the people that control it and what they do with the music. And it was a long time ago, but Robert Johnson, blues singer, maybe y'all have heard of him, or maybe you heard the story, or maybe you watched a movie called Crossroads and you saw Steve Vai with the guitar virtuoso, the Karate Kid, Ralph Macchio, and they were dueling, but Steve Vai played Jack Butler, and he kind of sold his soul to the devil so he could be a shredder, a rock and roll famous guitar player. And the story about Robert Johnson is that he went down to the crossroads, made a deal with the devil to so he could get some hit songs. And Crossroads was a movie about that, and a bunch of other stuff involved in the movie, but the main idea was that. And we all, a lot of us musicians, we've heard along the line that somebody saying, "I sold my soul for rock and roll." You sell your soul to the devil. And when we take that and we put it into the mix of what we see happening with these pop stars and how these girls, the Cardi B has a hit, WAP. I'm not even gonna say what it means because I'm sure y'all know, but a huge hit, and it's a disgusting song. She knows it's disgusting, but she doesn't care because she's gonna make millions. She's making millions, so she's doing what she has to do. She's doing what she feels is best for her, and she's gonna have so much money when she retires. She's gonna have an island all to herself. She's not gonna care what any of the world thinks about anything she's done in her life or what she's done in her life. She's not gonna care, and most of them don't care. Very few turn around and say, "Yeah, you know." I see more of it in like heavy metal, like some of the guys that were playing in the satanic death metal bands. 30 years ago they were doing crazy things. I see some of them now, a lot of them for that matter, because they've grown out of that thing. They've moved on. They feel like that was for a purpose. Maybe they were in a dark place when they were younger, so the idea of being in a band that glorifies Satanism is the thing they want to do. And at that time, it probably seemed right, but when they get older, they don't want nothing to do with that. So I mean, is it all a myth? Is the Crossroads a myth? I mean, is the devil in the music a myth? Because things are done intentionally. Nothing is organic in the music industry. It's all done with intention. The trends, the styles, they inject these things in there. The way what their music content is about, there's always some sort of underlying purpose for it. It's usually a lot more than we, as the listener, what we even see or hear. We really don't get the full picture, but they are definitely doing things with far more intent than just to single out one specific reason why they're doing it. It's such a broader purpose. And when we see things like from my generation, the 80s hair bands, the way they dressed, maybe bands like Rat, Motley Crue, sleazy arena rock hair bands. The way they dressed, they looked. Some of those guys looked like women, and if you've seen them on the street, it was almost if your eyes aren't great and you're at a good distance, it's almost hard to tell sometimes. Back then, okay, now totally different story, but those things were by design. Okay, bands like just flowed into a certain look, but it didn't just happen that way. Those looks were created. They served a purpose. We never looked at rap music back in the day as having the ability to be a potentially satanic music, but in the recent years, we've definitely seen some of it, haven't we? We've seen some of that popping up into their music. Some sneaker ads, the 666 sneakers. That one rapper, I don't know his name because I don't like rap music, but we see it. And I'll tell you why rap music and hip hop is so popular, and the degradation that's in some of that music. It spreads to a bigger audience than the 80s hairband stuff. I know that we think that, those things ruled the world at that time, but it was actually a lot smaller than what it was, as far as its reach and its abilities. Now with the internet, cell phones, just everywhere you turn, you can see something. You can be stimulated by some sort of device. This stuff it's there's a reason why it's so popular, because it's more listenable than death metal. You can play it anywhere, and it's going to show up at Super Bowl halftime shows. Some of these Super Bowl halftime shows that people are like, "Oh my God, that was so degrading, so filthy." Yeah, absolutely. But it reaches a far bigger audience. So the people that are in charge, or whatever is in charge, whatever controls the biz, they have bigger. They want a bigger audience. They want bigger. They want a bigger crowd to hear what they got to say. That's their job, for what they're selling. And then the hairband stuff. The hairband stuff disappeared, like literally overnight. Okay, and then what took its place? Grunge. If we think about the grunge era, why was it? It really wasn't that successful. I mean, it didn't last as long. It kind of morphed into something else. But as far as grunge, the idea wasn't. I mean, it was almost, if you're thinking about agendas and what you can use it for, as a person who's, at the top wanting to manipulate the masses, there really wasn't anything that you could do with it. Guys were wearing flannel. They weren't trying to dress up like females and put makeup on or anything like that. They didn't put makeup on their face. They didn't do up their hair. I mean, it was a lot of it was shaved heads, and there was some masculinity to it. It was really raw, and whatever the words were in it, it's what you saw. You didn't see the image like you saw in the 80s with the hair bands. So honestly, I think it was short-lived because of that. That it didn't have as much of a purpose, a usable purpose. So they couldn't do much with it, and then it faded out. But what took its place was the hip hop. Now, don't get me wrong, we're always going to have that underground music, that underground, and I think metal is the biggest underground music at right now. At one time, punk rock was a huge underground. Lots of punk rockers, and we still have punk rock, but it's not as big as not as big as metal. You see these big events, huge stages. Welcome to Rockville is one of them that we have down here. It takes a lot of money to build that kind of a stage. It takes a lot of money to build that kind of light show. It takes a lot of money to put up those digital screens with whatever type of media they want to run on them. It takes a lot of money to run the sound. So there is so much money that has to be poured into those events. And how many bands make any money out of it? Most of the bands playing those things aren't making money. It's just the few on top. And if we think about the few on top, then we're thinking about some of the legacy bands like Metallica, Megadeth, and those guys are getting old. Okay? They're getting old. They're not going to be doing this for much longer. So I think that's why we're seeing this AI push. Because it's going to be cheaper, okay? And whatever they choose to do with AI, how they want to, project it to the masses, and they will, and they are. But I don't think that we are going to see much live music in the future. Like, I don't know. They say within 5 years, and I don't know, but I'm saying within maybe 10 years. Somewhere in that time, I think those big events is going to change, because nothing is going to get cheaper to the point where people are going to be able to have a successful career in it and make money and be able to continue to do it. I see things just getting priced out of the ballpark where they can no longer have these events. And then at that point, AI is perfect. And remember what Gene Simmons said, avatars is going to be the future. Avatars, maybe he should have just said like AI. The music will be whatever the computer puts out, and that's it, and that's what people are going to listen to. But he's thinking, well, Kiss is going to be avatars, but I don't know, because he likes to make money, so anything that's got the Kiss name has to make money, and it's just going to be cheaper to use AI, so who knows what's going to happen with that stuff. But I was reading, and there was a really interesting article, and it was from like 2022 on BlackRock, like BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, those big mega corporations, asset management, but they hold the majority. They're like the majority shareholder for lots of stuff and lots of musical stuff too. And when I was reading this one article, and I'll have it up on screen here, they're talking about what they see the future, and this is, 3 years, 3 years ago, what they've started doing already. And we see it because they said music has primarily been old white dudes. Hell, I'm an old white dude. I'm not super old, but I am an old white dude. I'm not young anymore. So how does that make me feel as a musician? How does that make you feel as an old white dude? We're not going to have the ability to have a future in music, because the ones with the money who create these, whatever is trending, hairband, grunge, rap, the people that make those things happen, that fund those types of music, that fund the music, make the music, they say it's going to be mostly females and diverse groups. And diversity is a word that I don't like it, because the things I've seen that came from it are not diverse. On the surface you can call it diverse, but it serves a bigger purpose. And the purpose is always, they want to control the masses in some sort of way. So I don't like it. But they got the money, and they've controlled the music industry, all the changes that have happened. So what I see happening is, I do see a lot of female bands popping up in the metal world. A lot of female-led metal bands, and some all-female metal bands, and they get good attention. It works for them. But when it comes to the AI, that I think is going to be the end game, and we're not going to probably be able to be heard as much as before, because they control YouTube as well. The algorithm, if I make this video and it gets 3 views, well, then it got 3 views. But if they were in control of this video, they will push this video to the top, and it'll be on everybody's screen. That's the control. We can call it the algorithm, but ultimately it's something that they can control. They have the money. They can control it. Period. And when we talk about the dark side of it, people that are in the music industry, we look at these like Marina Abramovic, however you want to pronounce her name. This woman, the spirit cooking, and I don't know if any of y'all have familiar with that, seen it. The fact that she was very close with Lady Gaga, saying, well, she needs to be, train. She needs to learn. I'm here to teach her. And Lady Gaga is kind of a unique individual, probably very moldable. Obviously gets out to the masses, which is why they're connecting themselves to those types of people, so they can get all that stuff out there to the masses. Because remember, they want to reach as many people as possible. And what's the message? You know, we might see it, oh man, she's got great music. And I do think she's extremely talented. But they use those people. They use those people because they are going to, whatever message they want it going out to the most amount of people. And most of the time, there's nothing good going on there. She's got great music, but then there's always some other thing that's going on that oh man, I didn't see that. The music was really good. I did not know that, you know. Something is going to happen. There's a purpose bigger than what we see on the surface. And then when you have people like Marina Abramovich, you know, it's not for good. That's not a good person. Another one that was even more interesting. I don't know how to pronounce her name. It's pretty simple, but Michelle Lemay, Lamy, and hanging around celebrities, and this woman's boyfriend, husband. He's an interesting, peculiar-looking fellow, but yeah, that and hanging around celebrities. For what? To be friendly? Listen, these people are weird to me. I'm not going to be friends with weird people like that. And most of you, probably, if you take a good look at them, you wouldn't be friends with them either. If Marina says, hey, you want to come to we're having like a spirit cooking gathering, and then you see like blood all over a wall with some ridiculous writing in it, just some crazy shit. You're gonna be like, hell no, I don't want nothing to do with this. When you look at this other Michelle Lemay, whatever her name is, and it's like, whoa, what is going on with these people? It's insane. Some people say they're witches. They look like witches. They look like demons. So I don't know, but I don't think anything good's gonna come out of it. Like on the surface, we're like, oh, they got great music. Cardi B, you know, she's popular. But is that message degrading females across the planet? Because they want to be like Cardi B? They want that WAP? They want to be like that? So yeah, what you hear on the surface might be good, but how many people are being degraded mentally because of it? So we've got BlackRock, Larry Fink. You heard that name? This guy specifically said, I'll play the video.
You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors.
We are going to force behaviors. Now, if you take into consideration all those other things I said about how they manipulate situations, it would make incredibly good sense when you hear him say, we are going to force behaviors. And then if you see that they're not playing old, it's just not going to be old white dude music anymore. It's going to be new females and diverse. And I would suspect that the female part is probably going to be less important than the diverse part, because the diverse part is going to be all the degradation and their perversions, their sick, twisted thoughts in the music. That's what that's going to be. That's what that diversity means to me in music. Just the perversion and sickness. So when you hear Larry say, we're going to force behaviors, and you look at the things that have been going on for at least the last 10 years, yeah, they're successful. They're doing it. So, to bring this to a close, we're going to look at some celebrities and see some of the degradation in them, how they look after, they've been affected by infected. I'll say infected with the music biz, which is just the perversions of music, really the pervertedness of it. And honestly, is it even? I mean, legacy bands are if there's not a legacy band on a huge event, man, maybe nobody's even going to go to the damn thing, so they might lose money, which is why they got to be there. But like I said, those folks are moving on. They're getting old. Ozzy just passed. R.I.P. Ozzy. Rest in peace. They're all we don't live forever, so they're all going to go. And when they do, what's next? It's going to be AI. It's going to be cheaper for them to use it in movies, soundtracks. They'll create things on YouTube. And they'll get those things up front and center. And while the other folks, I think there's going to be two types of music. One of them is not going to get much of attention, and the AI that's going to be owned by all the big mega corporations, they're gonna pump that stuff out there. So you're gonna have real music as the underground, and then we're gonna have AI. That's just my thoughts. But yeah, look into some of these things, and make your own, come to your own conclusion. What controls the music biz? Because it might not be a who. And the Crossroads myth might not be all that much of a myth. So, coming to a close. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I've got another channel on the line too. I got some fun music videos that I like to play covers, and check that out. And I'll be making some more content, some different stuff. But all right, see you on the next one.